Well, I'm going to call to order meeting for the Economic Development Council meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. I'm going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic
which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
I just, before we start, I just want to be remiss if we can, recognize what's going on in the country right now and just have just a brief moment of silence for George Floyd. Thank you. Right now, I'm going to start by going through the right to know law checklist. So just bear with me as I mumble my way through this, okay? In accordance with Governor's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to the Executive Order 2020-04, the Goffstown Economic Development Council Committee will utilize emergency meeting provisions RSA 91A to conduct meetings through electronic means while preserving the extent feasibly the public's right to notice of such meetings and ability to observe and listen contemporaneously. Public access meetings by telephone call 603-766-JOIN or 5646. Participant code 985-645 #. Problems with access. Residents experiencing problems with access during the meeting are asked to call 603-384-3624. Access. Watch the meeting live on Goffstown Television Channel 22 or on GTV page at facebook.com/Goffstown TV. Facebook will not be monitored for public participation during public comment. Residents interested in public comment should call the public telephone access number. Town of Goffstown Right to Know Law meeting checklist. As chair of the Economic Development Council Committee, due to COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2024, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The town is utilizing WebEx platform for electronic meetings. This public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following telephone number: 603-766-JOIN 5 or 5646 and using the participation code 785-645, followed by the #. B, public notice of the necessary information for assessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there is a problem with access. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-384-3624. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event of the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance when each member states their presence. Also, please state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under right to know law. Greg Rodriguez, chair of the EDC, and there is nobody else in the room.
Bonnie Gavin, vice chair. Nobody's in the room.
Gail Lebrecht, member.
Oops, sorry, Gail.
That's okay. Gail Lebrecht, member.
Ladies first, Chet.
Gail Lebrecht, member and recording secretary. And I'm alone in the room.
Yeah.
There we go. And this is Chet Bowen, select board rep, and I am the only one in the room.
Thank you.
Joanne
right.
Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director, and I'm
Thank you.
the only one in this room.
Thank you, Joanne. First, we're going to cover the acceptance and correction of the minutes from May 6, 2020. Does anybody have any corrections?
I move to accept.
Does anybody second that motion?
I'll second that.
All right. Gail,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Bonnie, wait,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes.
I accept as well. Motion carries. All right, we're going to start with business outreach, and Dave is here to talk about that, and I believe to talk about Main Street and
Yeah, so as far as the village district, I'm going to tell you a little bit how it rolled out back up several weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. The first thing we did was to reach out to as many businesses and business owners, managers in some cases, that we could get to, and just tried to get a temperature of how they were feeling. We told them that this would be in confidence and that we wouldn't be sharing this information, but we talked to them how they were doing financially, how they were doing in the volume of customers. And it was interesting. We had businesses, several that were way up. And I've decided, since I did tell everybody I would be confidential, and because I put my foot in my mouth last time, that I'm just going to talk generally about
Okay.
about the businesses. So, but it was interesting. There were actually some that were doing better than they normally did, although those many of them had trouble with getting staffing. We talked about payroll protection plan. This is how far back that was, and any difficulties they might be having, whether they were taking it. Only a couple businesses weren't even going to take it. There were several that were intimidated by the process, so they hadn't even started with their bank. I shared some of our experiences. I know Ellen has a business who's on this committee. She had done it with her bank as a community bank. Our bank is a regional bank, and so we gave some advice there. And I think there was some value to several of the businesses. We also offered, kind of as we transitioned, as maybe a week or so went by, to try to be more strategic about Facebook. Many of the local businesses have very robust Facebook pages. Some of them have what I would describe as frozen in time Facebook pages. And so for them, I asked permission of all these folks, whether they had frozen in time pages or whether they were very active. I spoke to each one again and asked if how were they and us, were they okay with us putting these out? And were they okay with me putting information together that described their business, where it might have been not as clear in some ways on their page, their Facebook page. So that was early on. And, we're lucky. We have 3,600 Facebook followers, which is up. We've actually been gaining Facebook followers throughout this pandemic. I think this is not a confidential thing, so I think only the Trestle has more Facebook followers than we do, so kudos to them. But our posts are up 16%. Our engagements by other folks on our posts is up over 300%. So it's getting people's attention. For some folks, especially some of the ones that are static and didn't seem that concerned about it, we are just posting every now and then. Some who have what I would call moving Facebook pages with menu boards and that kind of thing, we're doing it more often. We decided we weren't just going to shotgun it over and over and over again because people would stop watching it. So we've been kind of hitting it in bursts. There might be a couple days where there's nothing or one. Then there might be a day where there's 3 or 4 strategically picked based on what's going on at their business. And then we also extended this to businesses who are only operating online. And watching the data behind that, they've been getting a lot of information, and a couple of them have actually reached out just to say thanks that we've seen the business. Let's see. And some folks, instead of waiting for us, they just shoot us a note that they've got whatever it is coming up tomorrow or the next day. Can we post for that day? I think the most interesting thing to me was discussions and advice we gave on masks. And a lot of the businesses, once the phases of opening that started to roll out, that some of that is mandated. So this was more before that, or the businesses that aren't mandated. And the question that they had was, most everybody agreed that there's a no-brainer that their staff would wear masks, but there was a real divide in whether they should require customers to wear masks or whether they should make it optional. And of course, part of this dynamic is that there are people who believe that there are some folks who believe that the masks are very helpful in protecting other people. And then there's some people, of course, who believe that the masks are not helpful. So that was kind of where people were struggling. And where I started with them was, look, there's no chance that you're not going to upset some of your customers, no matter what your decision is. So if you decide to have them mandatory, upset people. Optional, upset people. So the question I posed to them was, if you are going to make this decision, would you rather make it where if you believe that masks protect other people, including the people in your business, then wouldn't you make that choice and upset the people who don't believe in it or don't want to, and be a little safer in your business with the aerosol not flying around and not hitting surfaces? I mean, a lot of folks in town have done great with the plexiglass, but still, in some of the businesses, they go deeper into the business, and one cough or sneeze or even laughing and talking. So I can't think of one who decided to go with optional. So there's a lot of folks, and I use an example of, and again, this is not confidential. I use the example of Ace, who you guys probably saw the progression where they went from some staff, all staff, optional customers, and all the way to requiring customers. And I've spoken with Karen, and it's been a mixed bag, but I think they're glad they did that way. They stuck that way. So that was a big thing. And again, I do this mostly in person. I try to avoid the phone. It's another way I can get in and see what's happening in the businesses. And then lastly, which is more of a look forward, and these are just the broad brush things, and the look forward, what I've talked to a few of our board members about is that I think it makes sense for Main Street, maybe the town, other interested entities who support Goffstown, to look at what are the things that businesses need, what are the categories, and who amongst us should be handling which thing. Because Joanne could be watching for funding. Well, I am watching for funding. We could be watching for the same funding and pursuing this. And so I think that having a dialogue where we decide who's going to help with what might make things more efficient. So that's kind of the backstory, and then what I think we should look at for the future.
Are you seeing more businesses struggling in the village or in Bernardville right now? I should say Main Street.
You speak to me?
Yeah.
Well, I really haven't worked much, at all with Bernardville, so this is all
Okay.
about the village.
Okay.
But I think the same thing is true about divvying up who might be
Yeah.
able to help with what. And I don't want to speak for the board of our organization, because I know Bernardville is a big area, but even if it meant for a while that different agencies that usually don't cover certain things or areas could help out because we want to be more efficient. Personally, I think you have to consider that as a way to process all that has to be done.
Does anybody have any questions for Dave or comments?
So do you want me to tell you what I've been doing?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm in touch with, do you remember G. Hinson? He came in to speak with us maybe a year ago. He works up at the State Economic Development. He sends out information on a daily basis. Sometimes it's the same thing each day. Sometimes it changes. But anything that he's provided to me as far as the funding for the PPP program and now the Main Street Relief Program, I've been Currently I have about 35 emails from business owners throughout the town. So I've been sharing the information about any sort of money that's available to them. And we've also been posting it on the town's Facebook page. And I also include posting it on my own Facebook page. And I'm finding that most of the people who call me back with questions is from the email that I send, not as much from Facebook. But there have been some people who have commented on Facebook, and I've tried to answer as soon as possible with the information. Some of the people I've actually hooked up with Jimmy because it was a more involved situation. Now, the Main Street Relief Program has $400 million for the state of New Hampshire for the small business owners. They had a deadline for a pre-application process, which ended on 5/29. And they announced that sometime after June 1st, they would be compiling all of that information to see what the needs are and then decide how they're going to disperse the money. So that has not happened yet. The only thing that has happened is the people had the deadline to apply for the pre-application. The PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection for small businesses, it also can go towards the rent, payroll, any interest on mortgages or utilities. That for New Hampshire, I couldn't get a number for Goffstown, but for New Hampshire, 25,000 business owners applied for the loan. 2.6 million was, did I have that number right? 2.6, I have billion, but I don't think that's right. 2.6 billion or million was dispersed for New Hampshire. And there's certain restrictions with it where you have to use it as planned out and approved, and then you don't have to pay the money back. So that was like the best thing ever. The state was providing free masks for business owners. And I did get a few questions about that as well. But for some reason they stopped, and now they're selling them at the liquor stores. So the next round will be the Main Street Relief, and we'll see how many businesses apply and what the criteria is, and all the rules, and find out, who's eligible and what they're going to do with that money. But I haven't heard of any businesses so far, and I might be out of the loop in certain times, but that have closed. It seems to me that even the newer businesses have, remained. Some of them have remained closed and are just beginning to open, but they're still there, and they're opening. In fact, the two businesses on Main Street that are probably two of the newest in town, the slot car racing and the quilting shop, have hung on. And then there's another business, there's a new flower shop in the old Main Street where the laundromat building is.
Vintage Garden, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So people are still looking to open new businesses at this time, which kind of shocked me, but I think it's great. And I think a lot of the businesses in the area have really rallied and came up with innovative ideas as to how to keep going, just kind of working out of the box, so to speak. And, that they seem to be okay right now. Now, what the future holds, we don't know, depending on what happens with the virus and everything else. But so far, so good. I did speak with Stephen Mino about the Pinardville program that we had arranged and have contracted with UNH. And we both thought that we should hold off for now because Stephen, UNH, the employees over there at the Cooperative Extension cannot meet with groups of more than 10. And we wanted to have the roundtable discussions with the Pinardville
Thank you.
business owners. And I think they've probably have their hands tied right now with everything that's happening. So we thought it would be best to just hold off for now and pick it up as soon as possible.
I agree. I think that even the results right now would be skewed anyways because businesses
Right.
aren't 100% yet.
Mhm.
So until they get to that point, and probably even a few months after that is when we'll see, the improvement and
Right.
real results. So,
Yeah.
anybody have any questions for Joanne? Contacting businesses plans to open, is that what you just spoke about right now, the safety measures?
Yeah, I mean, they've all received information from, like, I'll give you an example, like the businesses who currently have patios, the restaurants that are opening, the outdoor dining. We did develop a permit process so that if they plan to expand their seating area from what it currently is, they just have to go through the town and not update, but provide a new permit for the additional dining. We just have to make sure everything is safe as far as, fire hazard or anything like that.
That
And
approval is the approval
that has
process
gone
long?
into place.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Is the approval process long for that?
No, it just takes maybe a day or so.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no fee.
Okay. Cool. That's good. Is that on the Facebook page? Do you know all that information?
It is on the website.
Okay.
Under planning department forms. So far, we've had 2 take advantage of it. And this way they don't have to get planning board approval or any of that.
Right.
It's temporary, and when this is all over, they have to remove the extra seating.
Okay.
But it's there for them to help now.
Okay.
But I don't know of any other safety measures other than what the governor has put in place. He has lots and lots of rules that go with the different types of businesses and what they need to do.
And I wonder how it's going to change after the additional 2 week stay-at-home order. So we could be having an entirely different conversation come the July meeting. So.
Right.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And the COVID-19 funding assistance, I think that did you wrap that up into the?
Yeah, I already talked about that.
Okay.
That's what we have for now on that one.
Okay, excellent. Chet, floor is yours.
Thank you. So I want to be really careful with the EDC going forward in that historically I feel like a lot of times we have initiatives and then we look to the person in Joanne's position, but right now it's Joanne, and say, hey, do this for us. So I want to try to be just cognizant of that before I say what I'm about to say. But I look at the next steps for the EDC from my perspective and a board perspective in looking at that sector by sector approach. And so, Joanne, I hate to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm wondering if I will work with you on this. We'll certainly have phone calls. If we can try, based on our zoning, to identify, I think, 4 sectors. And the sectors that I'm looking at, with all respect to Main Street, would really be the sectors that get 0 funding from the town on a yearly basis. So maybe that's 4 as opposed to 5.
The ones
and we
who
look
get,
at
I'm sorry, the
that do
ones
not
who
get funding.
do not get funding. Okay.
Yep. So the EDC can really focus on those areas. And I think Main Street program does such a great job with Main Street. I'm looking more at some of the areas that maybe don't get that attention and support. And I think that's what the EDC is supposed to do. I'm open to the conversation if that's not the way we want to go. But what I'm looking at is identifying 3 to 4 different sectors based on zoning where we have businesses that could use some support. And as we know, any small business can use some support and coming up with a schedule. So my thought is that Joanne, myself, and I'd like to involve the chair of the board, of course, and Greg,
Yep.
look at those sectors, and then bring into focus an actual schedule that we can put together, and then talk to those businesses. And by talking to those businesses, Joanne, I want to be clear, I don't mean you have to go and talk to all of them. I mean, members of the board would take some responsibility, we come up with a schedule, and we really figure out a measured approach to this, and we all take some responsibility for going to certain businesses and having a conversation. Similar, Joanne, you'll remember this, similar to the testimonials, but I think a little bit more pointed. What do you need from us? What could we do for you? And then again, we address the issue of businesses not getting attention by putting up a schedule. We plan on focusing on this sector here, this sector here, this sector here. So if between now and next month, I think the most reasonable goal that we can create is identifying those sectors, and then coming back next month and asking the members of the board who wants to take which businesses within which sector, and coming up with a schedule. Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do between this month and next month, Joanne?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. And again, reach out to me, reach out to Greg for any help that you need. But I'm basing it off zoning, really. We know where the commercial businesses are, and I'm hoping that we can put together a small map, and then after next month develop create and announce Facebook on our website a schedule of which sectors we'll be focusing on. And the last thing I think we need to look at is, what do we think is reasonable? I don't think a month, myself, I don't think a month is reasonable to look at an entire sector of businesses and say, we're going to talk to you and then be done with you. So I think it's really a long-term plan. I would say a 3-year plan. We spend some real time on each sector and let the other ones know we're going to help them next. So open to any thoughts, concerns, questions about that going forward. But that's the way I'm sort of picturing it in my mind right now.
Okay. When you say sectors for the types of zoning, are you looking for through the entire town, correct? Not just the village?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I think the most important point I'm trying to make is that it's for the entire town.
Okay.
Main Street program does such a great job. I'm wondering, how we can support the other businesses that are in Goffstown that probably could use our support in those areas. And again, not to repeat myself too much, but historically, when we've tried to do a focused approach, it has been, well, if you're going to do it for this business, you have to do it for another. And I agree 100% with that thought. So I believe the approach is to have a transparent schedule, identify the sectors in which we want to support, and let everyone know this is when we're coming for you. And then follow through, most importantly, as a council, and the members of the council follow through on reaching out to those specific businesses, asking what they need and trying to support them with the small budget that we have.
Okay.
So I think that's the best. In my head, that's the best way to sort of move forward. But again, I'm open to any other ideas or thoughts.
Good job.
And hearing none, I will say.
Actually, I have a question. I know that we have Main Street, and they've done a great job, but my biggest concern is the Bernardville area, and really, I don't think we've ever really connected with them, have we?
I don't think we have, and honestly, Bonnie, is that you asking the question? Sorry, I can't see.
Yes.
Sounds like you. Okay, I thought so. So really, I think in addition to not ever connecting, I also think a few years ago there might have been a missed opportunity to connect. So that's kind of my point. I think you're resonating with what I'm saying, is reaching out to them and really trying to connect with them. And that's probably where we're not probably in my head we would start right there. But even within Bernardville, if we're trying to really focus and actually create goals and measurable goals that we can have some sort of impact, even within Pinardville, there's probably 2 or 3 sectors,
Mhm.
right? Of like, if we really want to do it, and that's my thought. So, absolutely, I think we can do a much. I just want to say, I
Chad,
think we can do an effective job.
Chad, will you
Go ahead.
define a sector?
So what I mean by a sector, and I've worked on this in my, in looking at other towns, a sector would be a place zoning identifies as commercial, and how many businesses do we believe, and Joanne and Greg and I can talk offline about how many we think is appropriate for a certain amount of time, but how many businesses do we believe we can reasonably attempt to connect with, and more importantly, once we do connect, actually have an impact for? And so a sector to me would be, can we do, if we take 8 to 10 months, can we focus on 9, 10 businesses and actually develop a relationship with them?
Mhm.
And again, to go back to the other point, if other businesses see us doing this, and the most important thing we have is a transparent schedule that says, nope, we're coming to you next. Like, you're not being left out. We're coming to you next. And even if they do, if they request help, we'll provide it in real time. But
Mhm.
that's my thought, is 9 to 10 businesses. I think that's the most we can do, unless someone else feels we can do more, or if that's too much. That's kind of where I've landed on 9 to 10. Over,
So you're thinking,
you know,
you're thinking commercial, industrial, those kinds of sectors.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Anywhere, any place that is trying to work within a capitalist system where they
Mhm.
make money for providing a service. That's
Okay,
really
great.
what I'm thinking of. Yep.
Thanks for that clarity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Joanne, Greg, and I will work offline between now and then, unless there's any objection to that, and try to develop that, and then bring it to the entire council to get your approval or thoughts, and then move forward. And the other piece I wanted to talk about tonight, I apologize, I should have called Joanne today. I just want to make a quick statement that the bridge from the end of the rail trail right to the Main Street area, I think is of paramount importance to us going forward, and I would love to see an ad hoc committee created. I won't spend a lot of time on that right now. I just think we should look at different boards that we have in Goffstown and maybe get a rep or two, or at least ask for a rep or two, to look at funding sources and engineering solutions that address the real concern about the view of the river from the bridge. So I'll end there. I just don't want that to get lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jen.
I just want to briefly talk about recruiting of new members. I believe I recruited a new member. He lives right around the traffic circle on Center. I want to say Center Road. Is that near that area ish? Going. I think to and
Gail, what are you doing? Good gravy.
so his name is John Napoli, and he'll be joining us next month's meeting. So we can we'll speak to him and get that process going. Get him on the board.
And I have a prospective board member too. I'm having lunch with that person on Friday to discuss that.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Economic Development Director's updates.
I don't really have anything other than to say that the planning board is still very busy. So things have not slowed down as far as planning board applications go at the moment.
Anybody have anything else they want to bring up before we start a motion to adjourn?
Hmm.
Anybody want a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Joanne, motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Gail, motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I adjourn. I also vote yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for joining today.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
guys.
us.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dave, for
Bye.
coming by.
Everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
All
Good
right,
night.
take care. Bye-bye.
Ellen said she's been trying to get connected for 45 minutes
Oh,
And
no.
I don't
Oh.
see her. Like usually you see the name and I don't see her here.
I didn't see her here as I looked.
So not sure why she couldn't get connected. She
Did you
said
dial the wrong number?
no, she said she actually got through and it said, hold on, because somebody has to let you in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see anything here that with her name. I don't know what happened. Here's something, it says more options, but that's not one of them.
Well, next month we'll have to make sure she can really connect.
Yeah. It's funny though. I don't know why everybody else got right on. Okay. Well, have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. I can figure out how to get out of here.
End meeting.
Well, I don't have that sign. I don't have that. There
It
we
should
go.
be red X.
I got it.